Shalom Aleichem. This is Rabbi Breuer. I have some news. Recently, I received word that Israeli authorities arrested Rabbi Eliezer Berland and his family, imprisoning them and charging them with several crimes. I happen to know that the State of Israel is an utterly corrupt country. They do not in any way represent the Jewish people, and they are without moral values. If anything, I would say they are the enemy of all things godly and earn a living by theatrical religious tourism. In other words, any acts of piety they display are staged for the gullible Christian pilgrim. The man they arrested is a Breslover, like me, and I have reason to believe they did so to strike at me. They are in league with Lubavitch, which might have collaborated with them. Their Israeli law enforcement personnel are not above false arrest. They are capable of planting evidence and have sufficient motive to do so. The average Israeli is evil. Their culture is vile by American standards. It is possible that Rabbi Berland was framed by the Israeli government. The Israeli news media is no better. That's what I meant when I said that the Israeli character is despicable. It is not Jewish. It is the result of Zionism. Zionism is the opposite of Judaism, and they cannot be reconciled. Zionism is just barbarism. It's just a fancy name for using the force of arms. It's might over right in every case. They're just bullies. They have no right to have a state, let alone to control occupied territories. They deserve no respect, and they get none from me. The State of Israel should and must and will be dismantled immediately. I don't care where they go, just so long as it isn't America, because this place is too good for them, and because they hate religious people. I suggest Australia, because it's on the other side of the globe. My apologies to Oceania and to the rest of the Southern Hemisphere. I don't care what replaces the so-called State of Israel. It isn't the least bit holy and therefore does not deserve a name associated with the Bible. I feel the same way about the words Zionism and anti-Semitism. They should be stricken from the lexicon. Anti-Semitism is just an excuse to let Jews and Israelis get away with murder and worse. I happen to feel that Zionism is a form of sexism against males. It's designed to emasculate men and make women into their superiors, not their equals. It's also racism because it dares to redefine the ethnic identity of a Jew by means of its secular civil laws and its counterfeit rabbinate. False converts are just as much of a problem as non-Jewish Israeli citizens. Let me be perfectly clear about this. I am the king of Israel, but I am rejected by my people because they do not want a king, because they do not want a Jewish religion, because they are evil opportunists and parasites. They know full well that I am their king, yet they refuse to acknowledge it because they don't want to be led. There is ample precedent for this in the Bible, for it tells of rebellion after rebellion against king and God. The state of Israel is a left-wing country with leftist ideals supported by a left-leaning majority of diaspora Jewry. I too have some leftist positions, even some extreme left, but that isn't hardly the point. I am the king, and a kingdom is not a democracy. There is meant to be some power sharing and some decentralization of government, but essentially it's a monarchy, besides which the other governmental bodies that would represent the people are themselves so corrupt that they cannot be trusted. Did you know that a Jewish king is supposed to have the power of life and death? That's why we recite a bracha over him, and that is the only way it is possible. It is the authority to order a summary execution. That's an actual fact, and you can even read it, you can even find it in the Art Scroll Siddur for ages 13 and up. All that having been said, Rabbi Berland might be guilty after all. There is more than one subsect of Breslov, and Rabbi Berland's is just the most prominent one. That's why I say it might have been targeted by a collaboration of Zionist and Lubavitcher conspirators. I do not belong to Rabbi Berland's subsect, and I never have, although I do accept them as Breslovers. The subsect I belonged to is called Nanach. The sub-subsect I belong to is called Biroshalayim, although I kept it a secret because it was so controversial and because they were edgy. Both sub-subsects regard Rabbi Yisroel Dov Ber Odesser Breslover Zatzal of Tiberias as their spiritual leader. Now that some time has passed, I have evolved further. The group I belong to is called Post-Breslov. It is a name that I just invented right here and now. I reserve the right to innovate. It recognizes that some things have changed in the last decade, and we are still looking for competent leadership and faithful followers. All these groups are considered Neo-Breslov by theologians. Rabbi Odesser was known by the affectionate names of Saba Yisroel and Saba. It means grandfather. He actually hated Rabbi Berland and said he was a wicked man on videotapes called the Klatot, so I wouldn't be surprised if he committed these crimes. The only reason I suspect foul play is that the Israeli government attacked him shortly after I announced that I am the Messiah, and that I identify as a Breslover. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, I believe they did it only to harm me. It's a primitive tactic, but it's a Middle Eastern way of thinking. If they take out a leader of a group that might accept me, they make an example of him to others. It might also be because I attacked Lubavitch on the air, and since it is an ally of theirs, they stick together and they take care of each other's enemies whenever possible. Saba also hated Lubavitch and described them as sheker, or falsehood. He instructed all the world to publicize this. I think it was wise and correct, as they are a foreign influence in Judaism. They are a type of Jew called Erev Rav, and they come from ancient Egypt. Consequently, the Israeli government likes working with them because they both seek the collapse of Judaism, so their goals and methods are compatible. Breslov is about the closest thing you can find to real Judaism, which makes it public enemy number one among the Sonei Yisrael, or haters of Israel. I demand that the State of Israel release the Berland family at once and stop persecuting Breslovers. I further demand that the State of Israel stop using the name Israel effective immediately, because you are not Israelites. You may call yourself Trucial State number 3, because you are a defeated Axis power.